planet, of course, because the mass wouldn't have formed together into a planet, and there'd be no solar system anyway, because the sun wouldn't have the energy to have held itself together against the exploding forces inside of it. And of course, then there'd be other forces of nature, so without gravity, the universe would just be completely flat and featureless and horrible. Also, we wouldn't be here and there'd be no ice cream. But to understand gravity, we should probably go back to the beginning. And at first, when you think of gravity, you probably think of the guy, the apple and the tree and all of that, Isaac Newton. He's a British dude, born in the 17th century, and at the time, he said, hey, there's no easy way to describe the changing universe over time. And he was right. Galileo had already seen the movements of Jupiter's moons and the scars on the moon. He died the year Newton was born, by the way. And because of Galileo, we knew that the universe was not a perfect, flawless picture that some had believed at the time. It was imperfect, it was messy, and Ptolemy, he was wrong. The Earth was not the center of everything. My Jefe Galileo, he observed those movements, but he didn't create orbital models. He just looked out there and said, hey, there's stuff moving, but he didn't have a way to describe those movements easily. So my boy Isaac shows up, and he helps describe orbital dynamics and invented calculus. He was also the first to create hypotheses on optics and the composition of light. He, of course, created Newton's 3 laws of motion, which were updates to Kepler's laws. He created the law of universal gravitation. He did a lot of stuff. But the thing that you probably know about Newton, the thing that you've heard the most, is that an apple fell on his head and he was all like, gravity! Which kind of minimizes his stuff, right? Like, he's actually way smarter than that. He didn't just get hit by a piece of fruit. You can't really think of gravity without thinking of Newton and the apple. But, funny story, Newton never wrote down the story about the apple, and instead he talked about it way later in his life. There's no solid, hard evidence that an apple fell and anything happened, and especially not that it hit him in the head. Here's what I could find about Newton and his apple. So, funny story. Newton's at Cambridge. This little thing's happening over in Europe. Maybe you've heard of it. The bubonic plague. So Cambridge is all like, whoa, this is a big deal. We should probably close for a little while. So he's at home at his family farm. And he's there for a few years while, Europe handles this messy plague. He's there for a few years while Europe handles this messy plague business. And while he was there, he recounted much, much, much later as an old man to his biographer, William Stuckley, after dinner, the weather being warm, I went into the garden and drank tea under the shade of some apple trees. And he asked himself, why should that apple always descend perpendicularly to the ground, occasioned by the fall of an apple, as he sat in a contemplative mood? Why should it not go sideways or upwards, but constantly to the earth's center? Assuredly, the reason is that Earth draws it. There must be a drawing power in matter, and the sum of the drawing power in the matter of the Earth must be at the Earth's center, not in any side of Earth. Thought Newton, allegedly. More or less, this story that he was telling, there's no proof that it actually ever happened, although people don't doubt that it probably did. But Newton told it again and again and again. He wanted there to be this kind of myth or mythos about it. So the head of archives at the Royal Society of Britain says, quote, the story was certainly true, but let's say it got better with the telling, which I think is just the best. Newton never wrote it down, and he wrote a lot, and instead it just shows up in his biography. But it kind of doesn't matter. It's just fun, right? The important thing is Newton looked at gravity, and he said, let's figure that out. And he applied the same ideas broadly. So he looked at the moon and the planets, and he thought, this is being held together by gravity. Gravity is drawing this. And he created this law of universal gravitation, which, let me read it to you. The force of attraction between any two bodies in the universe is proportional to the product of their masses and inversely proportional to the square of their distance apart. And this influenced the next 200 years of gravitation and the understanding of it. It explained planetary motion. It helped Adams and Leverrier both independently discover Neptune because of orbital perturbations of Uranus. This law was incredible. It changed how we looked at our own universe and our solar system, but it was also wrong. So hold that thought just for a second, because I have to actually tell you about the socks that I'm wearing right now. They are called Bombas, and they're the most comfortable socks in the history of feet. Well, the history of socks, at least. With an arch support system that provides extra support where you need it most, and a cushioned footbed that is reinforced for comfort without added bulkiness, these Bombas feel like a hug around your foot. All of my other socks, they just don't seem as good now. So go to bombas.com/seeker and use the code SEEKER for 20% off your first order. That's bombas.com/seeker, code SEEKER, and you will get 20% off your first order. Okay, so let's back up. What is gravity anyway? Like, what do we know about it? Gravity is a force. And today we've learned that there are 4 fundamental forces in the universe. There's gravity, and that was the first one to be described. Newton just went over that. There's also electromagnetism. That was described a little later in the 19th century. Both of these are apparent. You can see and experience them out in the world. Create an electromagnet, you can see that it does something, right? But there are also 2 other forces. There's strong and weak forces.
Yo, sketch.
The 20th century, when these were discovered, it's the atomic age, we found that the strong force holds atomic nuclei together, and the weak force is stuff like radioactivity. So first, gravity, as we understand it, appeared really, really soon after the Big Bang, like 1 × 10⁻43. It's really, really, really soon. Just after the Planck era, if you want to go look.
Okay, so, like, gravity is this very, very factual but elusive thing that we can actually experience. We just don't know why. Like, space, time, gravity, magnetism, electricity, light, and then hot and cold, or you can say temperature, or, you know, thermodynamics. It's like we found ways to, like, even measure and manipulate most of these phenomena. Just because we can, like, create electricity and actually store it and control it, it don't mean we really know what the fuck electricity is. And just because we can use magnets to create electricity, and we understand the fundamental concepts of large magnets and how they react to each other, but what is magnetism and why is it there? Like, like, gravity is like the ultimate one. It's like, something is happening. We're gonna call it gravity. We can measure the rate at which objects fall. We don't really know what that shit is, though. It's the weirdest shit, yo. Like, we can measure light, but is light a particle in a photon, or is light a wave that shifts from red to blue? Or is it a particle wave, or, and, you know, how does light, what is light? Like, motherfuckers can't really explain that shit.
And the really most important thing to understand is that gravity showed up really quickly, and it's a property of all matter. But what causes it? Why did it show up just then? Shrug. We don't really know. This is about all we know so far. The thing is, we're trying to describe as much of gravity as we can. So without knowing all the pieces, we're going to get some stuff wrong. And that is why Newton was wrong with the law of universal gravitation. He didn't know enough. The thing that was wrong is not everything. It's just a small part of it. Newton didn't know enough about gravity to fully describe it. Newtonian gravity is fine for big concepts like planets and moons, but it's not precise enough for very small things. And in fact, Newton was assuming a flat universe that was pretty empty, not a lot going on, still pretty clean and perfect, more Ptolemaic in that way.
And that's the thing too, though. Like gravity is supposed to be the one of the ultimate forces that, you know, that holds and binds everything together. Um, and that's why, you know, we don't go flying off into space, is because of gravity. But at the same time, like, gravity seems to be a very weak force for the simple fact that we can defy gravity. You can jump. You can throw things. We can put giant metal airplanes in the sky and them shits can fly around and defying gravity, you know? So it's weird how gravity is supposed to hold everything together, yet it is so easy to overcome gravity for the most part. Like, you can, like I say, even jumping or picking up an object. Like, look, I just defy gravity, because if I let it go, it's not going to stay right here in the air. Of course, it's going to fall. But the simple fact that I can lift anything is like I'm defying gravity. Like, fuck you, gravity. Whoop, pick that up. But gravity's like this weird. I can say, man, this shit is weird as hell, yo. But anyway, quick tutorial on how I do most of my paintings. Boom, there's another example of one that's about to get started. But we start with a drawing, a very simple sketch. Is my phone? Yeah, and it's a telemarketer. Jesus Christ, guys. So most of the time, I just don't do a really detailed drawing on the canvas, because you're going to paint over it. So don't waste too much time trying to draw. You get your basic outline, get your fundamental shapes in there, and then we can work it from there. So first of all, you need to start with a really good photograph that has a lot of detail, where you can work out each individual line, color variation, and just clear enough so you can see your edges and things. So start with a good photograph, and then take that photograph and do you a nice little sketch. After you get a nice sketch on your canvas, you're going to want to outline your drawing with some black acrylic paint and tone your canvas. Toning the canvas, it gives your oil paints a reflective surface. Just the nature of oil paints alone is that the paints are slightly opaque. So if you paint oils directly onto a white canvas, the translucent quality of the oil paint will allow you to see the whiteness of the canvas through your paint. And that's not a bad thing. It will just require you to apply thicker layers of paint, or more subsequent layers of paint. So if you want to be, I guess, economic about it and use less paint and have a more versatile underpainting, you should always tone your canvas. Give your canvas a color. I use burnt sienna. I've seen people tone their canvas purple, green, red. Just put some kind of color on it. I say this every time, but I want to look up the reasons why canvases are white now. I mean, you can buy gray canvases and black canvases. I'm pretty sure I've seen those sell at like Dick Blick or somewhere. But for the most part, like, most manufacturers just make white canvases when it's not it's not really good to paint on a white canvas. And if you look at art from the Renaissance periods, these guys were painting on wood and burlap, something that had some type of color to it, yo. Or they would paint on like linen, like brown linen, something with a color. But now most canvases you get wholesale or white. It's weird. So anyway, your drawing, you want to outline your image so that you don't lose your drawing over the period that you're working on it. It's easy to smudge the pencil and make it all messy and everything. So if you just outline it in black one time, then you know your image is there. And then plus when you go to put your wash or your tone on your canvas, you're not going to wash away your pencil drawing. So do that. Use acrylics for this portion because they just dry faster and it's easier to work with. So after you tone your canvas, you're going to want to do what is known as a underpainting. Now, an underpainting is a very dark and muddy base coat. Basically, is what you're doing. You wanna start dark and use the darkest colors that you see in your image, and try to spread those out more, and so that you can have a foundation to build on. Because in most other mediums, it's easier to work from light to dark. Like if you draw, normally you'll start out light and then darken up areas as you go. If you're working with watercolors, normally you'll start out light and darken up areas. If you're working with pastels, it's kind of almost the same thing. But when you work with oil paints, it's easier, and in my opinion, it produces a better painting if you go from dark to light. So your underpainting should be very dark, muddy looking, and very few details, very thick lines. This is just a guide for you, and like I said, a foundation layer for you to start working off of. And normally with my paintings, I'll do at least 3 or 4 layers of paint. So after your underpainting is dry, and make sure you let it dry really good, then you come back and you add your second layer of paint, and you slowly bring out your midtones, and you start adding details, and you thin out your lines, and you let that layer dry. Then in your next layer, you bring out more and more of your highlights and add more details and thin your lines out more. And the last layer is normally where you add your bright whites, where you're using basically white paint or very, very bright versions of whatever colors are in your image. And you take those for your last layer, so that you're not contaminating them, so that your very last layer, when you put that white on there, it's really white compared to everything else, and it makes everything stand out a lot better, and it gives it that almost that 3D effect like that. But it's just patience, time. You know what I'm saying? Don't think that you're gonna finish a painting in one layer of paint. That's what Bob Ross fucked everybody head up with, yo. Like, Bob Ross is the man, because he'll sit there in 30 minutes and like go across the canvas one time, and that shit is done, son. It's done. Look, we're not masters like that. You're not Bob Ross. I'm not Bob Ross. You know, if you can do it like that, congratulations to you. But most of us can't. So just go layer by layer. Just take your time. Just draw it out. Start with an underpainting. Okay, that's kind of ugly. We know that. But, you know, work with it and lighten it up. Add your details. And 2-3 layers of paint later, you'll have like a nice decent looking painting. You know what I'm saying? We all can't be Bob Ross, but hey. And I'm currently working on some commissions. So these sacred art drawings I'm doing for a coworker of mine. And I'm gonna do the last one. I'm gonna get started on the last one here shortly. Yo, Miss Bits. That was crazy. Y'all don't even know, like, yo. In order to get a perfect triangle, you gotta have a circle first. In order to get perfect cubes, you gotta have this, this pattern right here. This pattern right here made that, yo. Like, it's all about how you connect the angles right here, yo, and then you get this, yo. Or you get some Jones like this. Yo, them circles is crazy. Not the Kubert cubes. Exactly. And then it's dope, like, because the white is the top, and so they're stacking down like that. But then you flip it, and like the white is still the top, and they're still stacking. Or you can, whichever way you see it, yo. However your mind's eye see it, it's the same. It's the same thing upside down. Exact same thing. Yo, it's weird as hell, yo. Yeah, but I had to graph the circles out first, and then if you go from here to here, from here to here, here to here, and here to back is a goddamn one square. Well, yeah, so it'll be here, 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 and here, and then this way, that way, and then up this way, and that way, along these, yo, and then you draw your lines and connect them, and then it turns into cubes, yo. Interesting, some very interesting geometry here, some geometric art, yo. So, actually, like, I don't know, learning some different shit with this stuff. So, I'm about to do the last one. Oh, really? Alright.
And then Albie Einstein, shows up, and he realizes that space and time are not separate things, they're a fabric. So if you think of a bowling ball on a latex sheet, you put this really massive ball in the middle, and it has so much mass that it also has so much gravity, and if we're all holding the sheet at the edge and keeping it taut, you put it in the middle, it distorts the sheet, right? Distorts time and space because of its gravity, because of its mass. It's not just a force, but gravity is a geometric consequence, writes Cosmos Magazine. Think of the bowling ball with more mass, making more distortion in the universe. A tennis ball would have way less mass, so it has an almost imperceptible distortion of the surrounding fabric of space and time based on its gravity. Einstein came up with math to describe this multi-dimensional gravity. Essentially, he took Newtonian gravity and he said, this is quite less.
You're already here with it, so.
This is why, by the way,
Or would say, no, don't put them in there.
sun the way that it does.
Huh?
Gravity isn't just a direct path. You know, the sun doesn't have a
No,
spring
just leave them
that
in there.
swings us
They
around.
all fit one.
It's instead a multi-dimensional geometric relationship.
A multi-dimensional geometric relationship.
Of research to back this up that I'm not going to get into, but we still haven't figured out what causes gravity yet. We still don't understand its basic piece, and that is the graviton. Or so the theory
Graviton.
goes. Each of these four fundamental forces is carried by a particle. So electromagnetism has the photon, the strong force has the gluon, the weak force has the W and Z boson.
I guess.
Gravity, we assume, has a graviton, but we have not found it yet. So gravity is confusing because we have all these laws that describe it, and they work for this desk or for my arm or whatever, but they don't apply to subatomic particles for some reason. And to quote CERN, quote, the quantum theory used to describe the micro world and general theory of relativity used to describe the macro world are difficult to fit
set
into
all
a
that
single
up
framework.
there, so just set it somewhere.
So we still don't quite understand gravity all the way.
No, we don't
We're
understand
sort of
gravity.
like Newton right now. We've got a good understanding. Still need it. Still need to understand it, but we need more information. Einstein's theory is better than Newton, but doesn't quite cut it all the way. So what's next? We've got top men and women around the world working on it, and when we figure it out, whoo, boy, it's gonna be great. But till then, gravity is a great idea and a law. This episode was made possible thanks to WGU, the online university that's changing lives by changing higher education. WGU is affordable and offers degrees in business, IT, and healthcare. Their innovative learning model is designed to fit the lives of busy adults. Get your $65 application fee waived at wgu.edu/.
Oh, no,
More
not
about
yet.
Gravity come back next week, and in the meantime, check out all the other Seeker videos on this channel. You can find more Seeker on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. Just look for Seeker. You can find me out there too. I'm at Trace Dominguez. See you next week with more on this heavy topic.
Yeah, yo, gravity. What y'all think gravity really is? My man, I listened to this other dude, yo. He like this fucking super smart ass nerd with magnets and shit, yo. He say gravity really ain't what people think it is. Like, it's gravity the way that even Einstein's theory is kind of wrong, he's saying, because gravity is more like an electrical I don't fucking know how you explain that shit, yo. But when you think about it too, yo, it is kind of weird that the electrical effects that gravitational pulls can produce. And so is gravity like some different form of electromagnetism is what the one dude was getting at. And then I saw this one documentary too called The Electric Universe, and it was given all these hypotheses about anyway about like what was the early universe like, you know, right after the Big Bang, and did these phenomena that we can observe exist the same way then that they do now, and saying which one of these forces, you know, had the most impact first. Was it electricity? Was it light? Was it heat? But I don't know, I think it's always fun to think about stuff like that, like. And then when you listen to the dudes, the flat Earth guys, they say there isn't gravity at all. There's just a universal down. Like everything just goes down, and it's like what? All right. So I don't know, man. It'll be another 1,000 years before people figure some real shit out. Like, we're still pretty dumb as fuck right now. I gotta see this new movie coming out called The Current Wars. Y'all seen the previews for that, yeah? With Nikola, it's a movie about Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison and the AC/DC current war. All right, that's one time. I'm gonna have to paint this thing twice though.
I need erasers.
Set this in front of the heat.
That thing be drying so fast.
Yo, that's that acrylics, yo. That's why I decided to do it like this. With them acrylics. Yeah, it's called The Flower of Life. And it's just comes from the set of symbols called sacred geometry, yo. And there's just, I don't know, people just have been manipulating the circle forever, yo. And this is some old shit, like. And it almost looks like some of those Egyptian lotus symbols too. And then when you look at like the Mayan calendar and how they were able to make all the fucking circles on that shit so perfect and aligned and everything, it's I don't know, it's just cool as shit. And I've looked into like almost everything, yo, vortex math and sacred geometry and all that stuff, but I haven't like delved into it like deep as shit though. But I do know that is it's called The Flower of Life. And then I wanted to do this piece, and it has a name to it. I forgot what the name is. It Whoa, my fucking god.
I try not to step on the canvas. That one was more important. Relax. I was not trying to step on the canvas. At least I didn't fall.
Where in the hell?
I'm going to teach you about brain and heart coherence.
Yeah,
and
Flower
with
of
this
Life?
knowledge, what
Yeah.
if you could...
So this piece is called The Macabre. I'm gonna do that next. Draw the macabre on this I'm gonna do it on a black canvas, so it'll look like one of these. And so I don't know. Essentially, I was gonna do like 3 with black backgrounds and white lines, and then 3 with white backgrounds and black lines. But this one came out so in between that I think I should do another black one. So, oh, shiznit. We're in here fucking everything up. I need more space. Actually, I just need to move some shit around a little bit. But yeah, all of these are for one client, yo. And she was like, I want 6 of them. I'm like, all right, cool. Let's get it popping. And So she bought all the frames and everything. So matter of fact, let me get one of those waters. So I've just been looking up different designs and seeing how I can incorporate them or add to them or minimize them, and just kind of make them a little bit unique. Yeah, she said she just redid her kitchen, and she got new countertops and new tile on the backsplash, and she painted her living room and got new furniture. So she wanted some new art to hang in her house. And she was like, I want 6 of them. I'm like, cool, we can do that. We can definitely do that. As soon as this dries, we're gonna. Oh my God!
I didn't mess it up.
Just
It wasn't me.
what's that eraser dust you just blew on there?
That was not eraser dust.
What it was?
That thing was like orange or red.
Oh my God!
A piece of paper. Don't even.
I gotta paint it again anyway. When it dries. And then we're gonna put the what I call that thing, the macabre. And
I like it there.
this
Look
other,
there.
I'm gonna put like these 2 different designs together, and that shit gonna be hot, son. So I'm gonna take this design here and put the macabre at the top of it instead of using those 3 triangles, and still have this line at the bottom. I think that should be hot.
Oh.
No, perfect circle.
Well, I want it there, and then I'm already using your hand on the bottom. After it's
It's the good water.
done. What? You thought it was that one?
Yeah, because I be having too many waters over here.
Ew, I hate you. What is a perfect circle? Does it look centered to you?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you got the ruler. Shit, like.
I'm asking still.
Did you
It
measure?
still wasn't even on, even without the ruler. I still had to fix it, even with it.
Did you measure?
Listen, my friend. Now I need a regular pencil. Not really.
Yeah, that's what I love about acrylics too. You can force these motherfuckers dry. You can't force that oil paint dry, yo. You gonna have to wait. You try to put some heat on it if you want. That shit ain't gonna do nothing. That shit ain't gonna do nothing at all. That oil paint sit there and look at you all wet and slick like what? I'm just hot and wet now. Only thing you can do to oil paints to make them shit dry faster is actually add something to the paint. I have some dryer, but I don't really like using that shit, yo. Do not like using that dryer. So are we talking about gravity? What the fuck is gravity?
Name brand bars and body washes you rub on your skin are classified by the FDA as synthetic detergent. It's not even
Synthetic detergent. You know why? That's why I use all natural 100% animal urine. I don't use that synthetic
The Egyptian
detergent.
pyramids are without a doubt the most mysterious structures on planet Earth.
You know what I'm saying?
We do not know when they were
Straight
built,
gorilla
how
piss.
they were built, who built them, and most
Never.
importantly, why they were built. The Great Pyramid weighs nearly 6 million tons and consists of 2.3 million stones that are cut and fit together with laser precision. Many of these massive stones, which weigh as much as 80 tons, had to be transported from... The Egyptian pyramids are without a doubt the most mysterious structures on planet Earth. We do not know when they were built, how they were built, who built them, and most importantly, why they were built.
That's pretty good. Because for a long time, people have been saying, "Oh, we know who, when, and why." And it was Khufu and Khafre, and they built them 4,500, 600 years ago, and they were tombs. And ain't none of that shit correct, yo. None of that shit ain't correct. Motherfucking Khufu ain't built that fucking pyramid, or he ain't had that pyramid erected to him. It wasn't, almost 5,000 years ago, and they weren't no fucking tombs. There's aquifers that run underneath the Giza Plateau, yo, for miles. Like underground water channels that were man-made, yo. Man-made underground aquifers, and that shit is like, the fuck? Why did they do all of this shit, yo? And that water, having that water flow beneath those pyramids were some shit, yo. A lot of people think those pyramids were some kind of power plant, maybe, that produced electricity, or in some sort of way where they can actually harness some kind of electricity or something. And then they use like specific stones for certain portions of it, and one part of it is made out of this type of stone that has so much quartz quantity in it, and the other one has so much other minerals in it, and just the combination of certain stones next to each other, and harmonic resonance plus fucking the electrical current produced by running water. Ain't no telling what that shit was really for. But they weren't no fucking tombs.
Great Pyramid weighs nearly 6 million tons and consists of 2.3 million stones that are cut and fit together with laser precision. Many of these massive stones, which weigh as much as 80 tons, had to be transported from vast distances of more than 500 miles away.
And then all that shit, yo, when you measure the base of the pyramid and multiply that shit by a certain number, you get the fucking circumference of the fucking earth perfectly. And then the pyramids are positioned to perfect north, and it's like, and then how all that shit is that fucking sacred geometry, yo. They had to use fucking shit like this to get all the right angles on the fucking base of the fucking triangles and squares and all that shit, yo. Like, and that shit hella older than the Egyptologists say it is.
Thousands of years it stood as the tallest unnatural structure in the world. Certainly there must have been a good reason to go to all this trouble to construct such a wondrous monument, and we now know that it certainly was not a tomb. Nikola Tesla, who was perhaps the greatest inventor of all time, had a particular infatuation with the pyramids. He believed they served a higher purpose, and throughout his career he attempted to unravel their mystery. His idea has been dismissed and forgotten over the last century, but considering that Tesla is directly responsible for 80% of the technology we use today, perhaps we should view his theories with a more open mind. Today's episode is a brilliant showcase from the original Gaia series, Ancient Civilizations. We chose this episode because it opens the gate to new possibilities and new perspectives surrounding the pyramids. We ask you to suspend your disbelief and take a journey down the rabbit hole through this insightful presentation.
Take a journey.
Yeah.
Open your beliefs.
I thought it was for this channel. They're talking about they're using some Gaia footage. I don't know if I can use that shit on my channel without fucking that shit up. I need my bigger brush. Where in the shit? I don't know. Alright, how old is the pyramids? I don't know why I did this with this little brush, yo. There's too many brush strokes in it.
I think that's why I used so much paint on this one yesterday. There was even so many streaks that we're talking about.
Should be okay.
Is that the white paint? Over there.
Yeah.
Where's the camera?
Dang, I'm hungry. I'm almost an hour in already. I don't feel like I really ain't do jack shit to here ran my damn mouth. For 37 minutes. And then I painted for 10 minutes. Talk shit for 37 minutes. And painted for 10. Now I gotta wait for this canvas to dry. You know what? I should actually try to make this.
The other shape.
Yeah, already. Where's my
I
pad
think
at?
your art right here.
Yeah, let me get that. Oh, yeah. I need to empty the trash up here. Alright, okay, alright, okay, alright, alright, okay, alright. So. This one actually doesn't have like a ruler on it.
Yeah.
So you can see how big your circle is. So I'm gonna just try one. Yo, appreciate it. Did you go to my Instagram, yo? Check that shit out, yo. It's booming. Got all that dope shit for you, bro. Like, what the fuck, bro?
Wow.
I need a chunk of shit.
I'm going the other way.
No, I got him right here. No, here we go. Alright, okay.
Oh no.
I need to pull that video back up because I forgot. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do this. That was a bad line. Damn it. Yo, why don't fucking these lines up? I'm happy I am practicing this shit first. I got on that canvas and been like, skit, skit. I need a better ruler too. I'm gonna blame it on my tools, you know what I'm saying? It ain't my fault. I need a better ruler. Alright. So it says do that and that.
Yeah.
Yo, my shit gonna be crooked as hell. Let's just go this way.
That looks like some symbol.
Yeah.
You just gotta erase the one. That's all it is.
Yeah, which lines did it need erase? Let's see. Wow. So I know you're gonna erase the circle on the
I feel
outside.
like the other triangle is supposed to be a little bit low. No?
No, I messed up the lines pretty good. Yeah. I know my own passcode. Alright.
So the fun thing with the serpent is, how does a serpent talk? And not only that, but why is the serpent's punishment to crawl on its belly when that's what it does?
Welcome to the Genesis story reading.
Poetry,
I'm gonna move this one.
if you don't know the formal qualities of parallelism and expansion,
No, like the pink
you
one.
on 1/3 of the Hebrew Bible. Whatever theological background you have, you're going to have your own hypothesis, that is to say, your own plot and narrative. With the literary...
What you trying to get?
I was gonna paint, but I don't want to walk past again.
What do you need?
I'll paint brush and that palette. Thank you.
Do what now? Oh, from here to there. Alright, so there's another triangle inside. That's what I didn't. I missed that one. So you get those two triangles.
There's another triangle.
And then there's a smaller triangle inside of them. Ooh, I see it now. Alright, then we get that one. Okay. Damn. Hmm? See how my ruler be acting? Can't get no fucking respect. Alright, then erase those. That line stays. And that line stays. This does not stay. Damn, where's almost gone.
Somebody said nice artwork, buddy.
That's pretty cool. Alright, so this isn't perfect, but this is the next shape that I want to do. I just gotta make sure when I do it on the canvas, it is ultra straight. Sorry, it's a little sloppy. Not bad for my first attempt, I guess. But practice makes perfect. All right. Hey.
That was good.
Yeah, that's not bad. Not for the first time. Like I said, now I just gotta get it on the canvas. But I'm gonna add something to it. Alright, I'm almost at an hour right here. I think I'm gonna get off. Alright. And fix me some hamburgers and fries. I don't know. It's pretty early. There's a chance I might be back in here. Oh, it's 4:20. Hey. But I just got off work and I tried to give myself an hour. I really that's what it is, Mark. A painting of Red Fox. I don't know, dude. I don't do celebrities. I really don't. If you if you can name somebody like that, any household name or really big famous person, I probably won't paint them because
they've already been painted before by somebody else, and I want my artwork to be a little bit more unique than that. So you won't see me paint Tupac or Bob Marley or Biggie Smalls or nobody like that, bro. Or Red Fox or Chris Rock or I don't know. Anyway. So I do have this design almost down pat. First time, but I remember like how to do it now. So let this canvas dry a little bit more. I may actually have to paint it one more time, but I am hungry. I'm about to go fix something to eat. And come back up here and work on this later on. I said it's not too late, so I definitely have some time. One thing, I don't want to rush these things. They're almost done. This is the last one, so I feel good. I told the lady give me like 2 weeks, and it's only taking a week. So it's not like I'm behind schedule or anything. I just gotta figure out how I'm gonna add like this, the one drawing, but I'm gonna add something to the bottom of it. And see, for this, it tells you to erase the circle, but I actually kind of like it in the circle. I might put the circle back around it, and then add a line that comes down. We'll see. I need to think on it. I got to make the last one a good one.
If only she had 3 small ones and 3 big ones. That one small one throws me off because it's an even number. There's 6 of them.
Yeah. But oh, my paintings start off as sketches. Yeah. Oh, well, not. Oh, in my sketchbook. No, not all of my paintings start off that way. Sometimes for like, I don't know, like if I really want to get a good feel for a painting, yeah, then I'll sketch it out. And it's always a good practice to do studies. It's called a study before you draw it. So I actually did wind up painting this picture, so I did a study of it first, just to make sure her proportions and everything would be alright. But that's the thing too, like I paint so much like just straight to the canvas, and I don't do a lot of detailed drawings, that sometimes I do just need to get in my sketchbook and do like more detailed drawings. But this study, I actually painted this, turned this one into a painting. I was gonna paint this one, but never did it. But it is always good to do a study or a sketch of your painting before you actually throw it on the canvas. And I do sketches of all kind of ideas and things that I have. No, that's paint water. Yeah. Alright guys. This was supposed to be a sketch that I started. I never even finished the sketch. I was so anxious to get to the painting, like I was like, fuck this, and I actually did do the painting. It's the girl on the blue background with the choker on, and so I don't know. I just be so anxious to paint sometimes. Like, screw these sketches. Let me get to the paint part. Alright, I feel like I'm about to fucking starve, guys. I'm not lying. I would be here a little bit longer, but I gotta go eat something. You know what? There's a good chance I might stream some video games while I'm waiting on my fries to cook, and we can play some video games and chill for a minute. Catch y'all downstairs. Peace. Where's my Ross? Oh, See, this is why I hate to leave the stream. Of course I watched Bob Ross. Yo, and that's the thing. I had to walk home from school, right? I lived close enough where the bus wouldn't come for us, you know what I'm saying? You just had to walk to fucking school. We only lived like a half a mile or almost a mile from the school. It wasn't that far. But goddamn, the time we got out of school and the time that took me to get home, like I had to run. When I got out of school, I had to run and I couldn't stop. And if I ran all the way home, I can hit the door, put my book bag down, and turn on the TV, and Bob Ross would just be coming on. I'd catch that shit. And if I hung around with my friends or walked slow or went to the store or anything after that, I missed the first half of the show. But if I ran straight home, I'd catch that shit. Yo, Bob Ross, painting with Bob Ross. And then after that was the watercolor dude. And then after that was this lady, one stroke painting with Barbara or something. I sit there and I watch all that shit, yo. Yo, peace, yo.